friends and Chartered Accountant community and Omani delegates, Mr. Nadir, welcome to the today's CPE event, which happens to have a two-part series, and we have a guest speakers from UAE, Oracle. We'll give the proper introduction. And official to start it, may I invite our chairperson, C. Ashwani, to come forward and please officially inaugurate the session.
Good evening to all of you. A warm welcome from the Managing Committee of ICAI Muscat Chapter. Today it's a wonderful topic for us. Everybody talks about digitalization and what's going to happen in future and how we need to take care of these things for our respective organizations. And I'm sure we're going to hear the relevant things from our today's speakers. And maybe there's going to be a both-way interaction, and I'm myself looking forward to it. A warm welcome to our Omani guest today, Mr. Nasser. A couple of announcements for our members. We have a next CP session taking place next week, 30th of October. You will receive the intimation for that soon. It's on NRI taxation. We have a Diwali party coming up on the 31st. Members have registered with performances of some children doing some performances and games and everything. So that's going to be a family event. We are planning a foreign trip for the CA members. Of course, expenses borne by the members and for their families. We had thought of Beirut as a location, but we might have to look at another location. So we are considering Zanzibar as a location. If anyone who did not register for the trip because of the location, please let us know so we can include the names. We have the CA examinations coming up in November and special observers. You must have seen today's message in the group also. We need volunteers who can function as CA, the special observers for the CA examination. So please reach out to us if you can be a special observer or on one of those days. We have campus recruitment drive being done by our institute in India. And they have announced dates for the next campus recruitments. We can circulate it to our HR departments. So any companies here in Oman, if they want to recruit, and maybe for you also, any companies in Oman who want to recruit Indian Chartered Accountants, either fresh or experienced ones, there's a campus recruitment drive which is done by the CA Institute. So the companies here, they can register there and they can get CVs, they can do the interviews, and they can source good members as from the Chartered Accountant community. There are some international conferences taking place. The CA Institute in Delhi is doing the international conference on 6th and 7th of December. That would be in Mumbai. And then there are some regional conferences which are taking place. 7th and 8th of November, we have one in Abu Dhabi. 14-15 November in Doha. 22nd November in Kuwait. And 29th and 30th of November in Bahrain. So we will send you the details of these conferences. Any members who are interested in the conferences to attend, please, you can approach the respective chapters, CA chapters in those countries. And for the International Conference of ICAI, details are available on the Institute website. You can register and you can attend the conference. I think that was on the announcements bit from my side. I would hand over to CA Shahnawaz Khan to head the proceedings for today's day, and I'm looking forward to the session. Welcome to our speakers of the day also. Thank you so much.
All right. So we have two speakers today, and as I mentioned, there are two parts. So the first part is the future-ready enterprise, building tomorrow's intelligence enterprise today. So please do not be scared by the title. It's going to be very exciting. And the speaker, I'm supposed to introduce her. So I would rather start, I guess, from bottom. So she has actually worked in 4 big companies: Microsoft, HP, Canon, and which one is the next? Oracle, yes. So that's why. So currently she is working in Oracle. And she is the business development director based in Dubai. And the big word is transformation. She's been responsible for transforming business. And the biggest one is, which I can see, it's the SBI way back in India, and also a number of clients up there in Dubai as well. And she has won a lot of awards. And we would probably like to see those awards. And one award you're likely to win today as well. So welcome on board. May I invite our past chairperson, Shri PRS sir, to come forward, please, to give a big bouquet. So the session, now she's going to start her session, Shobha Singh, that's the first session. And after that, there will be a question answer, and then the other speaker will kick off, and we'll introduce him formally as well. Thank you. So stage is on.
Good evening. Okay. So, thanks, Shaz. He's already introduced me. My name is Shobha Singh, and I'm based out of Dubai in Middle East for last 3 years, and enjoying Middle East and this part of the region, right? We really don't want to scare you. You know, me and Lokendra had a conversation with esteemed guest some time back. Idea is not to scare you. Idea is basically to tell what is happening in technology world and why we are talking to you. The whole purpose or the objective of this session is that how to bring the business and technology together, right? Because that's the way the world is moving to. It's from diverging, it's moving to converging, right? So how do we converge together? And that's what we want to bring that perspective. So in our next 45 minutes, I'll try to attempt not to scare you because I'm also going to learn from you, right? So I'll not spend time on this since it was already being told. So welcome to Industrial Revolution 4.0. I guess many of you have heard about it. And I'm a little talkative person, so I'll try to request that please keep it an interactive session. How many of you have heard of Industry 4.0, transformation, digital transformation, or Finance 4.0? Unknown words, or is it quite a known thing which you are hearing a lot, not that you know deep about it, right? And I'll tell you, when I'm just trying to tell what does this mean, these are big jargons, right? These are big jargons, but just try to understand what it is bringing to us right now. When we speak about Industry 4.1, right? These were the revolutions which happened, which transformed something mega over at that time. So when Industry Revolution 4.0, first revolution came in, that was in end of 18th century when steam engine was invented. Just think of the time which we were talking about, right? That time, what did a steam engine do? It brought a big revolution, right? Big transformation, a lot of automation in terms of from human to a bit of mass production. Then exactly 100 years later, that is end of almost beginning of 20th century, it became when electricity was invented. So that was when French Revolution happened, you know, mass productions, a lot of automation, quick production happened. Then again, almost 90 years later, which was in late 1990s, when the third revolution came in, when internet was invented. So what did it bring? It brought a lot of automation, and especially since all of you come from banking on accountants, you remember that how the banking changed, right? Because of internet banking, etc. Exactly 15, 20 years later, think about 100, and now we are talking about 20 years. It's Industry 4.0. And why this is, and I'm going to why I'm spending time to bring the context to this. Why everybody is talking about this Industry 4.0? Because it is not one technology like internet or steam engine or electricity. It is a combination of many technologies and many inventions and innovations, and that is powering it, and the kind of value which is seen is almost 10x of what was seen in the earlier industrial revolutions. And the most important aspect is because of this is bringing a connected world. When you talk about AI, machine learning, or mobile, you know, a lot of connected, everything is well connected, and that's a big. Now, the first three revolutions, they have empowered organization. But this revolution, Industry 4.0, is empowering individuals, right? When I talk, and I'll take it, and that is what is bringing change. It has gone to that level, at an individual level. And with that, what does the world look like in next, let's say, 5-10 years? Now we are talking not 100 years, because we see that is the kind of change which is coming in. So let me take through a small video to give you the context. How does the world looks like in next 10 years exactly? And then you will realize that it is not 10 years. A lot of things are already happening right now. So this is the world 2030, and as I said that a lot of things are already happening, right? And what is the impact of this connected world or Industry 4.0? It is basically a smart cities. Today, 2 years back when I entered Oman, it was old airport, it was not, but today, and why is this all happening? It is because of expectation of a customer, right? And today when you enter, it's a completely different experience, right? When we were talking about today, earlier you have to go through immigration, you'll stand in a queue. Today it is just a whisk. Like a fraction of seconds, you just walk through. And there is also that it might be digital, talking walls that you will not even enter or stand somewhere. You'll just keep on talking. What we used to see like when I was a child in those science fiction movies. Today it is no more science fiction, right? So what is the result of this Industry 4.0? It is basically or digital 4.0 or transformation, digital transformation, finance 4.0, they all are same. The result is smart cities, smart healthcare, everything what smart we are talking about. And what does the smart means? Is being connected, right? And with that, let me give you a digital snapshot of Oman. And why is this happening? If you leave aside all, just look at the kind of mobile connections we are talking. 133%. This is the power of the connected world. Why is this? This is the way the world is slowly moving to. And if you look at these reports, maybe like 4 years back, it was less than 50%. In 3 years' time, from 50%, it has almost moved to 133% mobile connection. Or the active subscriptions or the internet users. And what does it mean? It means earlier, you remember when we had to go to buy, we all have families, right? If we have to go, we will go to malls. How many of you do internet, online shopping? 50, but you have started moving that direction, right? Or banking. Earlier, I remember when my father was there, we will stand in the queues, especially in India, I remember in the queue, and then he will make me stand by the time, okay, you stand. Today, I don't even remember when was the last time I visited bank. Everything is on click. Malls have moved from, shopping has moved from bricks to clicks, right? So that is the way. Why? It is this power, right? And who has hit this reset this? This is basically nothing but the smartphone. We just spoke recently, just now, like before the session, that 8-9 years back, it was those QWERTY key phones, Nokia. Today, it is all about smartphone. And the way the technology is, if let's say 5-10 years back, we had to book a cab, we'll call up a cab driver, we'll wait for 20-15 minutes. Today, because we as customers don't have patience. Our expectations are very high. It is like if I book a Uber, Careem, or I actually see where is the cab on the net, on my mobile phone. Why? I'm empowered with Industry 4.0. A quick one on the macroeconomic outlook. We partner with one of the large research firms within the Middle East and Africa, and they work with sea levels across the MEA region. They are based out of Europe, and this is what, they have been there in the region for 9-10 years, and they give every country outlook, and this report just came out very recently, so it is basis the outcome, the interview of the sea levels of Oman, right? So economy, these are the hard facts, which we can't change it, right? Economy will be under the pressure because of the lower oil prices, strict measures, security threats in the region. VAT has been postponed, so definitely its inflation will be slightly up because VAT is, that it is a revenue generation income, right, for any country. High government, the only spend which can be seen will be from the government. Oman unfortunately ranks 17th in MEA region for hiring intentions. Multinationals will encounter some kind of a delays in the large projects, right? It is because these are all cascading effects which are there. And of course, Oman has already laid out 2040 vision. You all know about it. But because of the prolonged oil prices, there will be a high possibility of the 5 or the 10-year visions which are there, that getting prolonged. Right? Now, when this is the outlook, can we do anything on the outlook? No. These are the situations which are there. They are beyond individual or organization scope. But how do we, in this situation, really make out that how do we grow, How do we make sure that we keep on growing further? How do we make sure in my particular or in individual role that we are able to transform our organization? And that's where we as technology firms come into play. Because you saw in the video, that was this context setting off, that how is the technology changing the whole business today? And I'll take it further on this. Just to tell you the context of why everybody in the world is talking about technology so much, right? Let me just take you like few decades back rather than going forward. Which game is this? Chess. Any takers, where wasn't it invented? I'll say, everybody will say India, but would you, so many people say Persia, India, wherever, but it doesn't matter. The idea of is that there is a story behind this chess game. I'm not sure if you have heard of it. Later on you can Google, but I'll just summarize it quickly. Because this brings a very high relevance. And I heard this story for the first time from one of the CFOs in Middle East, and because it really resonated very well. So it was that one of the kings in India or Persia, whichever country it was, he lost the battle, and he was not able to win this game. And his battle. And then he was constantly under the pressure that what more he needs to do so that he can win the game. And then he just went into the depression. So one of his courtier, he invented this game. And you know what chess is all about? Chess is all about mentally challenging yourself. And then you also see that if you take one step further, which are the other moves in 360 direction? Right? And when King started playing this game, he realized how he can parallelly win the battle also. So he won the battle, of course, because you realize it is not one step. Somebody can come in with 2.5 step or 5 step, whatever. And then the king said to the courtier, let me grant you whatever you want. So the courtier said, okay, there are 64 blocks in the chess game. Put 1 grain of rice on the first block, double it up in the second block, double that in the third block. How many grain of rice or how much rice you think will be, it's just 64 blocks, just 64. How much will be there at the end of 64 blocks? It will cover twice the surface of Earth. This is called the power of exponent, right? And that is what is happening in Industry 4.0, Industrial Revolution. It is coming at a very high, because it is a combination of many things, not one electricity, not one internet, it's combination. So it is bringing a exponential change, exponential growth. Now, when I asked a question, about what will be the number of grain of rice, we as human have an ability to think linear. That's the blue line, right? We all have, it can slightly vary, but it will not vary too much. But the way that today the growth is happening because of varied reasons, it's the orange line, that is the exponential change which is happening. And more this change is happening. The performance gap which is there, it is becoming difficult for organizations, individuals, students, whichever you name it, to survive, right? And if I take an example, let me take an example of VAT. In fact, just last month I was here for a session, and then we were just talking to a few CFOs. Is Oman ready with a VAT infrastructure? No, right? It's a regulation which has just been introduced. It's an exponent. Are the processes already laid down? No. Are the people ready? No. So that blue line is flat. Correct. But the regulation has already come in. But what we can do is, as an ability to respond, that we can work on the 3 parameters. Regulations, I can't do anything. Innovations, I can't do anything. Competition, I can't do anything. But how I can reduce this performance gap is by taking the blue line up, right? And with this, what is this bringing? With this exponential change, which I said, it is being said that 75% of today S&P 500 companies in next 7 to 8 years will disappear. Standard process. Okay. It's a rating agency for, I think, the organizations which is there. Yeah. So what does it mean? Like earlier Kodak was there, right? Kodak was number one company in the photography. Today it's not there. Think about Nokia. It's not there. And it's being replaced by the new companies. Today you see, which are the top 5 companies globally? Apple. They all are technology firms, right? Go back, how old are they? Apple actually invented its first phone 11 years back. Facebook, newly born in digital world, right? So this is the thing which will happen. Average tenure of CFO is reduced from 15, 20 years to 5 years, right? And it is being said by McKinsey that 89% of the general accounting activities will get automated. This is the impact of the technology today. Okay, and if you talk about, I will not take long on this slide, but just idea is that the way the technology is moving, it is impacting each and every industry across the globe. Let me take an example of autonomous fleets, right? Earlier, today it is driverless cars, driverless drones, right? And it is all because of the data which is getting collected because of this connected world. And let's take an example of Amazon. Amazon is thinking about how to deliver basis the past patterns of the customer, because that's the way the customer expectation is. It is not about that I have ordered and how well I make, how quickly I deliver, but it is moving to an extent that these are the past patterns of the customer, basis the seasonality, I keep the stocks ready and I deliver it proactively. So look at the kind of supply chain it will have, it will get impacted. Why it is all happening? It is because of the customer experience. You know, it is all about the exponential customer experience which is required right now. And today if you talk about, be it the customer loyalty, be it the human interacting with robot, all these things are together as an outcome of the exponential growth of the technology which is there. So future is already here. And it is not about, we are talking 10 years later, but it is now. But it is important, are we as an individuals, are we as organization ready? Okay, you all work in some of the other organizations. It's being said that 50% of the CEOs, because it's all digital world right now, they feel that by next year end, their organizations will be digitally transformed. Do you agree? Do your CEOs, they feel that way, that we need to digitally transform, be it the organizations, be it the government or the government department? This is the talk now, right? Because the things are getting disrupted, they don't want to stay behind, right? But 76% of the businesses, they say, they are not aligned to CEO's project. And this is the disparity, right? And this is keeping, and it is not about the C-suites, the CHRO or the CMOs or CFOs or revenue officers. They have their different agenda, but working towards a common digital transformation, right? And what is happening? Basically, this is related to the customer changes, customer change behavior which is changing. It's the innovations which are making these changes, right? Or the companies wants to expand globally. Or it could be the regulation, like VAT is coming in. That's one of the regulation which region was not ready with. Or new regulations which are coming in. Or it could be the new competitor. Like Uber was never there. But it has completely changed the way the taxi companies were. Or Airbnb, which was never there. And it's a new business models which they are bringing in today. So what is this bringing in? It is bringing a lot of challenges. So if you talk about the workforce, you know, the CHROs which heads it, CHROs are no more called as, you know, human resource. In fact, now many organizations have started calling them happiness officer. Because today it is like in next 5 years' time, 75% of the population of Earth will be less than 25 years old. So they are born digitally. So how do you keep a track? I mean, we all have kids. By the time they're born and in next 1 year's time, they actually know how to play with a smartphone because that is the digital experience which is there, right? That's the way the technology is so interactive. When you have those kind of workforce, one is are different, which were not born digitally, and one which is born digitally. How do you find a good talent? How do you find where is my right talent? Or how do you find how I need to recruit? Or if you have to talk about the customer experience, how do the marketing heads will realize that customer loyalty is not there anymore? If I see a better offer, I'll switch somewhere else, right? That's the customer loyalty. How do you create as an organization an everlasting experience of customer loyalty? That customer remains with me. Or the supply chain. How do I create a digital supply chain which is absolutely transparent? I know exactly which point where my product is or where my delivery is, right? So, now all these are the business values which business challenges are there. But how do we meet it? Today the technology can answer that, right? And I'll just take you quickly through that. And the organizations which have really embraced these technologies, they are the ones, Airbnb, Uber, or Netflix, which we are talking, and their cost of running the operations is minimal. Uber, has no taxi with them, no assets at all. So they're running but what it is only the platform which they are delivering. Like Careem, which is in the region, it is all works with, it's on Oracle platforms. So it's simply, they have invested in technology and a new business model. That's it, right? So that is the change so there was a customer experience required, which was the business value, which was being embraced by empowered by a technology, and a new business model has come up, right? Any questions or any points anybody would like to talk? No? Okay. Okay, so this talk's very big, global, but the main question is, how do you transform your organization? Yeah, this whole thing is happening, disruptions are happening, but how do I really work at an individual way? Because you all are at a different levels of your organization, in different positions. How do I work towards the transformation? How do I make sure that I am aligned with my CEO who's looking at making his organization digitally transformed? So there are many technologies which are disrupting, but key 3 technologies which are called as transformational technology. One is artificial intelligence. We all are hearing about it. In fact, UAE has nominated, they have appointed first AI minister, and this will happen. This will keep on happening. In fact, you were telling that most of the governments have started thinking globally, how do I embrace artificial intelligence further? Second is Internet of Things, and the third is blockchain. I'll not go very deep into it, but these are the topics by themselves, but I'll just run through just to give you a perspective about it. And what are these technologies bringing? In fact, I can't even spell it is 2.5 quintillion bytes of data which gets generated. I only know that it is 17 zeros which comes behind. This is the kind of data which we are talking about, right? And what do we do? And that is what the connected world, because when everything is connected, it's that data, that humongous data which is getting generated, and see the kind of insights it can give, right? And of course, artificial intelligence is empowering every day our lives. And if I look at artificial intelligence, it impacts each and every sector or industry across the globe. But if I have to look at, let's say, healthcare slowly from reactive is moving to proactive. In education also, how students' enrollment, or it can be learning paths which are there, which are key for the students rather than a standardized learning paths which are there. But if I have to look at specifically from the financial parts or from your particular domain, you can look at risk management. Basically, what artificial intelligence is not one technology. It's an umbrella which is empowered by machine learning, analytics and all, right? So there it is the risk management, or you can look at the financial planning or the fraud preventions. These are just few examples. There can be many which are there. Then Internet of Things. Internet of Things is nothing but the sensors which are there. Today we talk about smart houses, right? Or we talk about the smartphones which we carry. They have the sensors. They can actually see where you are right now, right? So it is the data I told you, quintillion data which gets collected every day. And if we'll have to look at what IoT is doing in the financial service itself, the wearable technology provides, basically can help you in the health insurance, right? Or it can talk about, the second example, which is that the driving habits of a driver. So insurance company keeps on collecting the data through IoT, and basis that data, your insurance premium gets calculated. Right. This is the way technology is going. And I'll just run you through one example. This is a live example which Oracle has built for Melia Hotel in Western Europe, right? And how this is a wearable technology, and it is not about a hotel experience of a customer. To look at how it has really impacted the payment part also. Just have a look at it. So basically, it is about the customer experience. It is the customer demands which are there. It is the customer which is driving these technologies, how to, the new innovations which are happening. It is because of the customers. It is the new customer experience because you want to retain the customers, right? For everlasting experience. The third is the blockchain, which many of you would have heard about. So blockchain, in a very simple manner, if I have to say, blocks which are there and they're connected with the chain. That's the blockchain, right? Or if I have to give a very simple example, just for you to understand, if you consider a book, every page is a chain, and that book is a blockchain, right? Now imagine if there are let me not reveal it. If I tear one page very neatly, how will you ever understand that there is one page which has been torn? You have certification, or if you have a page number, right? Or when you have read it and then it is not making sense, then you will understand it. But otherwise, you'll never understand. This is exactly the blockchain concept works like that. Every page is encrypted, so if you're tearing the page, all the parties are informed that page has been torn. So you're aware about it, right? So it is unaltered distributed transaction logs. It can be gated or private. The chain depends on, do I want to make all of you as a party of it, or I just want my first row? So if I do any activity in the first chain or the second chain, should the first chain be aware or should everybody? It is up to us, whoever is the initiation or however is the community. Middleman is eliminated. This is the most key aspect of it, and the trusted records are there. And this is very prevalent in the banking, finance, or the healthcare industry, because where your records are highly sensitive and they need to be highly secure, right? And examples are all across, and I'll just give more on the banking side one. It is the cross-border payment. Like in fact, in Arab Jordan Bank, it happened like from one country to another country. When the transaction was supposed to happen, it takes like 2-3 days time. But when the data are already, the transactions or the parties' information is already on the blockchain, it's already trusted. Now it's a matter of few seconds. That's how the technologies are changing, or it is impacting further. Or it could be smart contract. Because data is already there in encrypted form. So now instead of smart contracts which are available, so it minimizes the number of days in the transactions. It can be there for the employee verification. Like we do a session for UAE, some students, and then we say, today now organizations, the universities, because the people can fake their papers when they are enrolling it. So today, many universities, like in Saudi Arabia, I'm not recollecting the customer name, but university name, what they have done is they've partnered with Oracle. Each and every certificate which is being given to the student, it's on the blockchain. So it is already there with the customer, I mean, when the companies have to go in for, and it is not that you have to physically carry it. You can just simply give the information that these data are available, and it is highly secure. So you need not to, so there's no revalidations which are required. And why? So basically, just to summarize it, Internet of Things is collecting the data. Blockchain records the event, and artificial intelligence will give the reasoning to the data, and data is in the middle. And the power is coming only when all three are working together. That is what, again, I'm saying it's the connected world, right? And what is this connected world or the technology is bringing? It is bringing a connected outcomes. So it is bringing a new customer economy, or a new experience for the customer. It is bringing a very high value to the human. It's a digital information which is there to the human. It is bringing high digital agility, business agility, and the digital supply chain powered by data. And this is resulting into connected intelligent business, which everybody is talking about. So you can decide whether you want to transform your entire business. You want to start any point, you can start from anywhere. It's your choice depending upon where you are in your journey of transformation. It's your choice, and that is the way these technology bring the flexibility. And data is the key to this business. As I said, it is all about connected world. It is all about data. And data is now the new oil. This region has to realize it is no more the oil, and AI is the new engine, right? So CFO office role is no more about his own finance department, working about narrative reporting or the back of office. That role is no more there. It is all about digital CFO which is there. Now digital CFO means any role, any function where you are doing much better job, and the mundane jobs which are routine jobs can be given and can be done by the technology, right? So that becomes more of a agile finance, where you can actually 24/7, depending upon your own routine, you can access it from any device, you can work. I'll talk a little bit about Oracle also, right? So just simply, Oracle empowers you completely for end-to-end applications. Whatever I'm talking about, I'll not take you in deep about it, but Oracle supports end-to-end journey, and we help customers to embark that journey depending upon your journey, where you are right now. And we are the only company which has a complete cloud right now, complete end-to-end offering. And currently for last 3 years, we are number one globally on these business transformation, which we call as the cloud technology, right? And with that, I'll just take you through what does the new digital CFO role looks like, right?
Means always being a step ahead. Oracle, run projections with acquisition bid range increased by 20%.
Hey Mom, can we go to the mountains this weekend? Maddie and Tara are going and they really want to meet up.
I've got an acquisition today and it might get complicated, so let's see how it goes.
Oracle, show me revenue by product. Hey,
Meredith, the new board member, Hannah, says there's a competing bid.
I already reran the financials with the updated revenue data and higher bid numbers.
On it, as always.
Oracle, increase supply chain lead times by 1 week for the India facilities. What does this new merger mean for our debt-to-equity ratio over the next 8 quarters?
Will be higher for the first 2 quarters following the merger, but will stabilize during the 3rd quarter.
How's it looking?
Pretty good. Quarterly bookings are above estimates.
Workforce impact?
Our intelligence performance management system is suggesting that we get 100 reps to get $300 million in sales.
What's the impact of the acquisition on finances with the new bid range? about additional supply chain costs? Our increased production capacity will allow us to reach customers more quickly, more than making up for a 17% increase in cost.
And what about security and compliance standards, slowing down integration?
With our integrated cloud platform, integrations are streamlined and global compliance is always up to date.
The competing bid may increase the purchase price. Will the synergy still be sufficient to justify the price?
We've modeled several competing scenarios and are in a position of strength to increase our bid by 20% and still have the deal be accretive. I mean, this could be really big for us.
Well, I think it's time for a vote. All those in favor?
A competitive bid lead came in this morning. How does she do it?
It's Meredith. She's Superwoman.
Because when you're CFO, tomorrow starts today.
So these are not that which are futuristic. The digital assistant which was shown that she's talking to the phone and the insights are available, it's very much live right now. It's available in the applications because today that's the way because you are talking to Siri and Alexa on the daily basis, right? So how it is not about it is your personal behavior, you cannot have two different behaviors. It's slowly moving into just making your life more, easier. So that's from my side. I would like to just leave you with 3 fundamental questions that as a business leader of your respective organizations, do you have a complete timely insights across the organization to make better decisions better or strategic decisions? Do you have those insights? Data are there, but when you want to make those decisions, do you have that insight which can help you take an informed decision? Are your current technology platforms, are they powerful enough to make an institutional transformation change? You can decide your journey, but can you take that change? Are your current platforms capable enough? And the third is, are you ready for your next disruption? Right? Any questions, or do we take the questions at end together? See, now I don't know whether Lok is also a CA, he can tell better, but I'm not very sure that will there be roles like called CA or the CFOs. It will be all digital roles which will be there. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
My
Please
pleasure.
Can we have a round of applause for her, please? Thank you very much. So this, as we have said, the second part, which is going to be definitely interesting as well, intelligent finance function by Mr. Lokendra Rawat. So may I introduce him formally as well. He is the strategic account leader for EMEE. I've only heard about the EME, but you probably can explain it, what this EC is. And a top 75 Oracle customers, he's looking after. He's also been winning a lot of awards in Oracle as well. And I guess the 75, sites in Middle East he's been handling. And in the profession for more than 22 years. And prior, he's been working with global pharmaceutical company Pfizer as a finance manager. So I would expect he should, give a bit of grace actually to the chartered accountant. He himself is an accountant, so no threatening, I believe. So welcome on board, please. May I invite PRS sir to come forward, please, to give a book bouquet. Please come here. Welcome on board, and you can proceed for your session. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right. So, good evening to all of you. What I'll do is I'll just start off my introduction. But before that, I just wanted to understand how many of you are actually using any ERP platform at this point in time. And this is a mixture of what? Microsoft, Oracle, SAP. How many Microsoft users here? No? Okay. SAP users? Great. And how many Oracle users here? Okay. So we've got quite a sizable, guys. Okay. And, because my presentation is going to be a little more deeper in terms of, finance community, because this is going to be more about, how finance community can actually benefit from whatever that Shobha was talking of. So Shobha's was more of a generic presentation. Mine is going to be a very specific finance-related presentation. So before I start off, every one of you has heard of the word cloud, right? Yeah, right? I'll give a context of cloud. before I start off my presentation, but just to introduce myself, my name is Lokendra. I've been in the region for more than 20 years now, only in Dubai, been resident in Dubai for more than 20 years. I'm a chartered accountant, cost accountant, company secretary from India. I have worked within finance as well as an accountant with Pfizer in Bombay. But over the years, over the last 18 years, I've actually been working only exclusively within Oracle. And I was heading the Oracle consulting practice here for the region. And I've had the good fortune of actually doing a lot of implementations in Oman as well, because I've done close to more than 100 implementations in the region, including some of the biggest names here. In Oman specifically, I was associated with Central Bank of Oman, Electricity Holding Company, Royal Oman Police. All of these implementations were done by my team actually when I was heading Oracle Consulting. But in the last 1.5 years, I've taken a role shift within Oracle because as you can see, the theme of our presentation is cloud, digital finance. Oracle also has been investing a lot on digital finance related applications on, making the finance community more and more enabled. And I decided to take a new role within Oracle, wherein I have been basically meeting customers like you and explaining to them what this Oracle investment in cloud and in these innovative technologies is all about. So my current role within Oracle is heading the strategy for Oracle for Eastern Europe. So ECEMEA stands for Eastern Europe, Middle East and Africa. It's a wide region. So me and Shobha basically, handle the strategy part of Oracle's business, where we meet these top customers of Oracle and explain to them why they should start moving from the traditional applications, finance applications, to the new applications. So that's my role. So very quickly, I'll just start off my presentation, but what I wanted to actually, emphasize here is, my presentation is only going to be about intelligent finance functions. So, what is mundane? Mundane is, what we do day to day, right? Entering a journal, making a payment, entering a receipt. This is mundane. How do we actually start moving away from that? This is going to be the context of my presentation, how we can use innovative technologies available today to actually move away from this mundane way of working, so that the financial community can concentrate on the most important aspect, which is analysis and reporting. So I'll take a typical example. If you were to ask an AR accountant in any of your organizations, you would realize that over the years, the AR accountant is so well tuned to the nature of his job that he believes that his job is only to enter receipts in the system and do bank reconciliations, right? And this goes into his DNA. He starts believing this is what he was brought in for the organization, but that's not the role of the AR accountant. Entering transaction in the system is the easiest thing actually. This is not the reason why he's there. He is actually in the organization to expedite your collection. He is there in the organization to ensure that your customers are paying on time. And more importantly, if they are not, his job is to actually send them statement and reminders. Or he can also basically perform credit profile, risk profile, profiling of all the customers in his organization to categorize which customers of his are actually more important to him than the customers which are not important to him. But is he doing that function right now? The answer is probably he's not. Because he doesn't have those tools and technologies available today where he can actually concentrate on the core part of his function, which he doesn't believe is actually a core part of his function. So how do we actually leverage technology to get there is going to be the theme of my presentation. So what I want to do was, I wanted to very quickly take you through some of these innovations that have happened in the last 10 to 15 years. What you see on the screen right now is a snapshot of what's happened in the world. So who thought that we would be actually, taking Ubers, right? So you see something called rideshare there. Rideshare is where we've actually started, not relying on local taxis. Similarly, if you notice, hospitality. Today, you can also book appointments on the internet. You do not need to actually, go and physically sit there for the doctor to actually attend to you, which also means doctor knows how many patients are waiting for him. So he can also plan himself better. You also know when you need to go in there so that you can plan yourself better as well. So all of these innovations that have happened in the last 15 years, you can see them there. But the interesting part here is the start of all these revolutions happened actually with e-commerce. So what you do today on Amazon, and Amazon is today the world's largest company by market capitalization. What you do today on Amazon is actually the oldest innovation that was available on the digital revolution, which which Shobha was talking of. So the fourth revolution was the digital revolution, but e-commerce is actually as old as 15 years back. So how many of you heard of eBay? We've all heard of eBay, right? But today eBay doesn't stand in comparison to Amazon at all. Why? Why is it that something which was launched by eBay has been taken over by Amazon? Or for that matter, why is it that what Nokia started as mobile phones is today a dominating revenue for Apple and for Samsung? So the answer to this is, even though these companies created the technology and the innovation, which was changing the world, changing behavior patterns, they themselves did not change with time. So Nokia was under this false impression that smartphones would not be lapped up by people. People would hesitate from using smartphones. And 10 years back, people were very reluctant to actually use smartphones as well, right? But then, people started using smartphones, people started using applications within smartphones, and then today, Nokia is history. And more importantly, if all of you know, what is the most dominant application on your smartphone today? WhatsApp, right? Who's the inventor of WhatsApp? Anybody knows? BlackBerry, right? So you guys, if you remember, BlackBerry was a business phone. Everyone used to carry BlackBerry. I was also carrying one, yeah. So we were all hooked on to the chat messenger of BlackBerry. But what was the problem with BlackBerry? It did not keep it open. So you had to have a BlackBerry phone to communicate with somebody. But then, somebody in the world realized this is a good, nice model that can probably, fetch him money. And, WhatsApp was invented. And today everything is on WhatsApp, isn't it? So the bottom line is, these are those sweeping technologies that have actually, been invented in the world. People who changed are actually prospering. People who didn't change are not prospering. I wanted to concentrate on the last part there. So today, if you look at this journey, and as I said, e-commerce is very old. So Amazon is not a new phenomenon, even though it is the world's largest company by market capitalization. But what is interesting is, what you see on the right-hand side is the latest sweeping revolution, which is what Shobha was talking of. Artificial intelligence and machine learning. And if the chartered accountant of today is not aware of these sweeping changes, then he's going to be left behind. So the interesting point here is, today CFOs are no longer called as CFOs, they are called as DCFOs. In the US, they've already started using these terminologies that if you are a CFO, but if you are not digitally aware of what you need to do, then you're no longer in business. And one very interesting point which I wanted to make here was this one. Look at this slide. Look at the left-hand side and look at the right-hand side. Okay? What do you see on the left-hand side are companies which were prospering. So let me put it this way, when I became a chartered accountant maybe 20 years back, I was dreaming of joining some of these companies there on the left-hand side, Lehman Brothers and all that. Yeah? But today, if my son was to become a chartered accountant, he would not be interested in any of these companies on the left-hand side. He's more interested on the right-hand side. Yeah? Now, what is the difference between the left and the right? The difference is, many of the companies in the left-hand side did not adapt to change. They did not take change. They wanted to be the way they were. But the companies on the right-hand side brought about a lot of change. And the interesting thing is, all of them on the right-hand side are cloud companies. All of them are cloud companies. So this word cloud is actually sweeping the world right now. So if you were to actually look at your mobile phone right now, you would realize all the applications that you're using are cloud applications, even though you don't know it. So you're not aware of this, but the fact is everything you're using right now on your mobile phone is on cloud. So iTunes is on cloud. If you're accessing your Hotmail right now, it's on cloud. WhatsApp is on cloud. Or for that matter, any other application that you have is on the cloud, which means you are already on cloud right now, whether you like it or not. You're on cloud. And all these companies on the right-hand side are cloud companies. And 5 of the companies that Shobha was talking of. So the top 5 companies, so S&P 500 that Shobha you were talking of. So S&P 500 is actually an index of the top 500 companies of the US. It's an index which is tracked for the movement of the market capitalization of these companies. 5 of the companies on the right-hand side, if you see on the top, Facebook, Google, Apple, so the top 5 market capitalization companies are actually on the right-hand side today. Some of these companies are actually about to become $1 trillion companies, only and only on the basis of cloud. And the most interesting feature about all of these companies is they are absolutely low on cost maintenance. So Apple doesn't have a workforce as big as probably even Oracle. So even though Oracle is one of the largest enterprise application companies or the database company, Apple doesn't have that kind of workforce. We are 150,000 employees. Apple is maybe 1/10 of that today. Uber doesn't have employees. Today, what in the art and the entertainment world, what is the dominant innovation that's sweeping right now? It's Netflix and Amazon Prime. So Netflix is actually threatening your satellite channels today. But does Netflix have a workforce population? The answer it doesn't have. So the bottom line is, what you see actually today on the right hand side is actually sweeping the world, and this is why the chartered accountant of today has to change. And I wanted to just very simple, I wanted to just show you one small video. The idea is not to show you many videos here. The idea is to tell you how things are changing in the world today. So if there is a fashion contest or a fashion event, what do you actually expect? You expect people on the ramp to walk, right? So you expect models to walk on the ramp, right? But this is symptomatic of how the technology world is actually changing the way we are looking at things. So this is a fashion show of Dolce & Gabbana. You know Dolce & Gabbana, right? So it's a very reputed brand. They had this fashion show last year, and for the first time, this is how they actually paraded their models. So the models were not actually, so you can see who the models here are. The idea is to tell you that everything is getting digital now. So what do you see? So there you see drones there. So instead of models, drones are actually carrying their leather bags. These leather bags are very expensive. So they've actually used innovative technology to give the message how technology is actually changing the world. And this is why I wanted to emphasize that everybody needs to change, and specifically because I myself come from this community, and with no offense to all of us in the room, but the bottom line is we are the slowest to change, because finance is still stuck in those days of internal control, audit, and I don't want to get into the So how do we actually make the finance community feel secure so that they do not need to sit and audit things or do those traditional things like we used to say vouching and look for supportings and whatnot, right? And then 10-20 years back there was also a word called auditing around the computer, right, which we never used. It was only a word. So the theme of my presentation is going to be only about this, on how to actually ensure that we use these innovative technologies to get rid of all this mundane tasks that we've been doing in the finance community. So why digital finance? What is the reason that the digital finance is actually sweeping the world? So these are some very simple statistics that we've collected actually. In 1997 and 2014 and 2016. So digital revolution has actually started almost 4 to 5 years back, even though we see this sweeping the world right now at this point in time. If you notice, companies which have actually started adopting digitally are actually 1.6 times more profitable. So these are not our numbers, okay? You can see the source of these numbers. It's McKinsey which is actually reporting that. Companies which are not actually changing their operational finance, the way they're operating, are actually making more costs or are accruing more costs to their organizations. And interestingly, the reasons why those particular companies are actually saving on cost is because they're actually using all of these things which Shobha was talking of: artificial intelligence, machine learning, and also the new business models. And when we did a survey, and again these are not our surveys actually, when these surveys were done, the question that was asked is there a correlation between organizational success and adopting digitally within the finance community? The answer was yes. 46% of the people said yes, and 29% of the people actually said that we need to actually have non-leaders for doing so. So the bottom line is we are actually giving these statistics to tell you that digital finance is a word that is actually going in as an acronym being accepted by most of the corporate leaders today. And interestingly, these are some of the questions that are actually being asked to chartered accountants at this point in time. So if you look at some of these questions, you will notice how many finance people actually are thinking about the customer? So let's be very frank here. How many finance people are actually thinking about the customer? Yeah, but yes, so when you say we are thinking about the customer, normally finance is looked upon within the organization as a back office function. And the only association of finance is, as I said, audit, control, no leakages in cost, cost control, ensure accounting is proper, ensure that closing is proper, and financial reports are available to the board on time. In all of this, it is the internal customer that you're talking of, not the external customer. But we know that our revenue is getting driven by the external customer also. So the finance community has to come out of this perception, or has to come out of these so-called mundane perception that people have that finance is only a back office function. Finance has to take a dominant role where people start thinking that they are also contributing to the external revenue of the company. How? I will explain to you how this can be done by leveraging technology, how finance can do that as well. But these are, as I said, some of the questions are being asked on, whether finance is actually digitally ready or not. Like, have you, driven down costs and gained, any kind of process of efficiency through automation? Have you looked at disrupting things? So, I'm using this word disruption. I don't know how many of you guys are aware of this word. This is the most used frequent word nowadays. If you're not getting disrupted today, somebody is going to disrupt you. Right? So if you're not disrupting anyone, so disrupting is not a bad word anymore. Disrupting is a very good word. If you are not going to disrupt somebody, somebody is going to disrupt you, and you don't even know you're getting disrupted every single day. How? Every 2 days, Apple is sending you an update onto your system, on your smartphone, or Samsung is sending you. And when you refuse to do it for consecutively 1 month, they are forcing it on you. So you're getting disrupted, right? For that matter, I don't know, because I'm coming from Dubai, so Emirates NBD, my banker, has started something called one-time pass. Okay? Now, I don't know how do I look at it. Is it a nuisance or not? But the point is, every time I'm trying to use Emirates NBD on my laptop, it is forcing me to use my smartphone. So earlier they used to give you one-time password. So that was my first disruption, my first experience of disruption. But now they've added another dimension of disruption where they've asked me to actually download one application. And every time I'm trying to do a payment now, it tells me what is your one-time password. I have to open that application, log in, and there is a ticker that goes, which only is available for 30 seconds. Within 30 seconds, this ticker keeps on changing the number. So it is so disruptive that I myself, in spite of being digitally savvy, missed the numbers 2-3 times. So my point is, if you're not disrupting, somebody is disrupting you, and you're already today a part of this digital wave, which we are talking of. And so I don't want to actually bore you with these slides, but I just wanted to give you the why of the digital revolution, and then I will go to the what part. What meaning, how do you do it? So, but very important, 3 very interesting things that are things that have emerged out of these studies is that if you are not getting into operational excellence, then you're not digitally savvy. If you're not getting into any kind of intelligence digitally, then you're not digitally savvy. And more importantly, if you're not able to influence your business, and when I'm talking of influencing a business, your internal stakeholders should no longer look at finance only as a department which is just providing them with reports. Finance role has to go beyond that. So if these 3 things are not changing in your organization, you are not digitally aware. And how do you do this? So let's look at the first operational excellence part. So this was again, a survey that was done where majority of the finance teams were actually asked this question: what are your advanced skills when it comes to using technology? Only 10% said that they were actually advanced. Similarly, do you have a disruptor mentality? Because finance actually, because I also belong to the same community, we do not have a disrupting mentality. We're actually working in a world where we are only meeting up with deadlines, right? Finance is always trying to meet up with deadlines. So we are not disrupting at all. We do not have that kind of mentality. And more importantly, we are not very technology savvy. So of course we run our reports, we run trial balances and everything. We have a system. So again, the same gentleman that I asked, are you using Oracle? Yes, you are using Oracle. You are actually technologically very savvy. But has anybody asked this question, why shouldn't the computer run this report for me automatically? Why am I running this all the time? Why is it that, I'm always entering a prepaid expense of 500 Omani Riyal, let's say, every month Why can't the computer do it for me? So these are some questions that we are not asking, and only 15% of the people said that they had any kind of technology mastery on this. And these are some of the, again, statistics. I'll skip this because I want to go to the most important part for you. And these are some of the key takeaways that we've actually found out, where the urgency to adopt a new finance has never ever been more greater than what we see right now. And more importantly, CFOs cannot anymore drive their finance functions unless and until they go out with a digitally finance operating model. So the urgency, as I said, is extremely, extremely high. And these are some of the things that we believe the finance department of today needs to actually do as soon as possible. You heard about robotics, robotic automatic processing, RPAs, right? How many of you are using RPAs in your organization? Anybody? No? Okay. I will explain what RPA is. When I go to, as I said, I will talk about how also. So it's not about, lecturing you people on changing. It will also be about how to change. So I will talk about what is robotics. But the bottom line is, you can bring operational excellence within finance if you try and leverage these things in your organization. And while doing so, the core function of finance, which is again about risk management and compliance, because this is ingrained in us. The way we are brought up within the finance community, this is ingrained in us. Without compromising on this, how can we still bring operational excellence within the organization is the way forward. Okay? And then this is an example of FedEx. So FedEx is actually one of the most digitally advanced company. The finance department is one of the most digitally advanced finance. And this is what they've done actually. They've standardized their operations. They have today more than 10,000 mobile applications available. I will also explain to you how mobile applications can actually help you in your financial closing, financial processes, and things like that as well. But this is how they brought about operational excellence within the organization. And then digital intelligence. So I was talking of 3 pillars, right? One was operational excellence, digital intelligence, and then of course how to influence the business. So in the case of digital intelligence, this is what the modern finance community is actually doing. They're using a lot of predictive analytics. They're using a lot of artificial intelligence to basically ensure that advanced analytical tools are leveraged within the organization to do the kind of reporting that we're talking of. Yeah. Again, I'm not going to spend too much of time. I don't want to spend too much of time on the what part. I will go to the how part very soon now. And just to give you an example, RBS, Royal British Bank, again, a big pioneer on adopting digital intelligence within the organization. As you can see, they have already, if you go to the core banking system also on the internet, you will see it's one of the most sophisticated in the world. Of course, there are many core banking applications today available which are very, very sophisticated, but RBS is one of the most dominant one. In the region, I would rate Emirates NBD applications also as some of the best ones available right now. Yeah, because how many of you have heard of this lady called Eva? Has anybody heard of Eva? So Eva is a voice recognition lady that has been, so it's a robot created by Emirates NBD. So when you, yeah, maybe you have a different name, yeah. So I just wanted to give you the concept of voice recognition. So basically, what they've done is they launched this Eva, and I'm sure there is something in Oman as well. So they advertised all over Dubai, and in Abu Dhabi, that we are launching this new voice recognition facility. So now today, when you call the 24/7 helpline, this lady speaks to you. So she recognizes your voice, your question. So she's been programmed in a way where she recognizes your question and basically helps you out with the kind of answers that you want. Now, how can we leverage that as well? Please go ahead. Yeah. Dalil. Okay, fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, okay, fantastic. So I will also talk about, how you can do that as well for your organization. So it's not as if, these companies are the only ones who can leverage these kind of technologies. How you can do it for your organization also is something which I will talk about. So this is what RBS has also done. RBS has also, leveraged a lot of these digital intelligence. And then the last one, as I talked about, was the business influence part. Why the business influence part is, very important in the digital world for any accountant is, many companies are going through, mergers and acquisitions. Many companies are actually, hiving off their stakes. specifically now when cash has become so important in a falling economy, right? You should be, as a finance leader or as a finance community, you should be so much digitally aware that you can produce those kind of financials for your management to take those decisions. So tomorrow, if your management wants to take over a company or for some reason wants to sell one of your companies, you should have those kind of financials available to you at your fingertips, and that can be only made available if you are actually using any kind of a digital system. Yeah. So this is again an example of Blue Cross Bluefield, which is basically leveraged a lot of these technologies to actually do a lot of mergers and acquisitions in the world. Now, I've finished off this part. What I want to do is just take you to the how part, which is the most important part. Now, anybody who has been using ERP would know that ERPs have a financial system, right? And when we're talking financials, we're talking of general ledger, accounts receivable, accounts payable, fixed assets. Then we have something called supply chain, which is basically procurement, inventory, order management. And then, of course, we have HR applications, which is basically payroll, HR. And if you're using manufacturing, of course, you will have manufacturing processes also. So ERPs have been around for now almost more than 30, 35 years. Combined years of maybe, companies like Oracle, SAP, and all that. So these companies will continue to provide you with systems where you can enter transactions, because these are transaction entering systems. But people over the years, as I said, have started developing that it is all about only entering data. It is not about analyzing or retrieving that data. And this is the change that is sweeping because of the digital revolution that we're talking of. And if you look at this particular circle, you would notice on the outer line is the transaction processing, where you're entering the transactions. So accounts payable, you're entering the payments. Accounts receivable, you're entering the invoices and the receipts. Now, how do we actually ensure that whatever we are entering into the system can also be used for easing our life? When I'm talking of easing our life, it means A, eliminate data entry. So come up with some smart applications so that you do not need to enter data, that's one. Two, how do we ensure that this data is also available to me in all those new innovative technologies like smartphones, iPads, and so on and so forth? Three, how do I also use this data which is available in my system to give me any kind of predictive analysis, right? All of this combined is actually called as machine learning or artificial intelligence. So we've heard a lot about artificial intelligence. She talked about artificial intelligence. How do we use artificial intelligence in a real world scenario? How do we ensure that the data that you and your team has been keying in, which you're entering, can be leveraged by you to basically make your lives easier? This is going to be my next part of the presentation, which is the how part of it. And this is why this diagram, I want you to look at this diagram. This is the data entry part. And in between are those new innovative technologies that are sweeping the world, through which you can actually do machine learning, adaptive intelligence. And I don't know how many of you have heard this word called Internet of Things. Have you heard of IoT? Yes, right? I will give you an example also of IoT. How you can use IoT also within the finance world. All right? So the next part is actually, as I said, about the how part. How do you actually, so we've done a lot of this talk about, we should be digitally aware, accountants should be digitally aware, and so on and so on and so forth. How do we do it? So let's look at it. How do you actually ensure that you are an AI-enabled company, or you are actually enabled for artificial intelligence? So the first thing is, you should be having in your organization, to be called as digitally savvy, you should have in your organization two things available. The ease of accessing the application. So today, let's say if you're accessing Oracle or SAP, the most frequent way of accessing the application is to use your laptop or your desktop. But is my child going to be interested in doing that 10 years down the line? The answer is no. Because he's been brought up on a generation of Xbox and PSP4s and all that, right? So they are not interested in actually using, keyboards, right? So the first step of making your organization digitally savvy is to launch applications in your organization, which can be either through asking meaning, so asking can be of two types. One is typing, or other is voice recognition. So both these technologies have already started coming in. So you have heard of Alexa, Google has come with its Duo. right? So in our language, we call this as chatbots. Chatbot as in a digital assistant where you can have a chat with the assistant, or it could also be voice recognition. So similar to what Alexa is, similar to what a chatbot is, or similar to what the Eva example I gave, you can within your organization also come up with chatbot and chat applications. So I'll give you one more simple example. If your organization is having, everybody entering requisitions. So let's say you have a procurement function in your organization, which everyone has. So there is a buyer who's buying within your organization centrally, but everyone is giving him requisitions to buy. Of course, it goes through an approval process within the organization. But let's say you want to buy a printing and stationery item, and he wants to buy a laptop. Yeah? Now, the way you would enter a requisition today in your ERP platform is, you will open your laptop, you will access the application, and you will enter 20 fields and create a requisition. 20 fields, tap, 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 and you will enter a requisition. Old school, right? In the new digital way, this is not how we would tell you to do it. What you can do is, you can create a simple chatbot within your organization. You can program the chatbot to ask only specific questions. So the chatbot is a machine or a robot who's actually conversing with you. You can program it in a way that it can ask you specific questions, which could be, A, what laptop? Then it opens up the, the catalog of the laptop, how many quantity, and that's it. On the basis of that, it can create the requisition. So what it means is, there is something behind it, which is your normal entry screen, but in the front, the user is seeing a personalized experience of entering transaction A in a way which he is very, very familiar with, which is a smartphone, A, and 2, only by answering specific questions. So what you're doing in this case is, you're doing two things. One is, you are making the user experience richer for your community, your user community A, and 2, you're also ensuring that mundane work is not being done within the organization. When I say mundane, what it means is, if you are entering requisitions only throughout your day, and if you're doing this one by one, it is a very boring thing to do, right? So this is the first step towards AI, enabling your organization with a technology which can actually reduce the back-end work that you're doing. And this is why we've said, ask anything is the first step of actually ensuring that your organization is digitally aware. Similarly, there is something called data enrichment. What is data enrichment? You have been entering so much of data over the years in your system. How to leverage that data to ensure that, again, you do not end up doing the same mundane task. So let's take one more example. Everybody is familiar with procure to pay cycle. Yeah, correct? Procure to pay. Procure as in, when you're doing a purchasing, there is a cycle, right? So the cycle is, there is a supplier selection criteria, supplier evaluation, supplier selection. Then let's say now you want to buy something from him. So there is a requisition. That requisition gets approved within the organization. Then it gets converted into a purchase order. After the purchase order is issued out, you receive the material. After the material is received, you get the invoice from the supplier. And then after the invoice is received, you make the payment to the supplier. So very simple, some steps, right? A requisition converted into purchase order, then you have receipt, then invoice matching, and then payment. So all of this is connected actually, right? The starting point, there was a requisition number, then a PO got generated, receipt got generated, and an invoice got generated. Now, in your organization, 4 people might be doing it different. 4 people have been nominated to do this work. There is a guy who's entering a requisition. There is a buyer who is doing a purchase order. Somebody else is receiving the material, so he's entering the receipt. And of course, finance then does the invoice matching and the payment, right? You have done this separation of duty because from an audit point of view also, frauds can be prevented if you have 4 people doing it differently. That's 1. 2, you also have done this because this is the way best practice works, right? But has anybody thought that if I, in the system, can find out certain parameters through which I can have the system automatically apply the receipt, or I can have the system automatically convert the requisition to a purchase order, or if I can do the invoice matching on the receipt automatically, how much time I can save within the organization, right? And what I can then do is, I can have my team of accountants or my procurement buyers to only monitor and control, right? So this is machine learning, and this is what is coming in the ERP platforms today. So how is it different from what you were doing earlier? Earlier you were entering these things manually. So earlier you were doing these things manually. Now what we are doing is we are actually telling the machine to do it automatically for you. And this is the meaning of the ML algorithms that you see there, which is basically about ensuring that certain transactions within the organization read certain parameters and apply all of these logics within the organization so that transactions are controlled within the organization. This is called RPA. So the word which I talked about, robotic process automation, is this. So let's take another example, bank reconciliation. You already have your cash data in the system. You already have your payments and the receipts in the system. Now you've got a bank statement coming from external party, which is your bank. Somebody is sitting and doing reconciliation in the organization daily, and he's but he's spending so much of time. Why can't we again use some algorithms in the system and automatically give a bank reconciliation to him so that he gets only the unreconciled transactions from the system, and he can spend his time to find out the reasons for the unreconciled transactions. Again, this is an example of RPA. So RPA is sweeping the finance community today, where slowly, one by one, an RPA for every process is getting released in the market so that accountants do not need to spend time to do those activities. All right? Are you guys getting the idea? Right? So all of this is actually sweeping, and these are some of the examples which I wanted to actually show you. So this is one example of, as I said, digital assistant. What you see is a live example of a customer who's done this in Dubai. So it's not marketing talk I'm giving you. It's anybody who understands the chatbot world. It works on something called NLP, natural language processing. This is universally accepted now. Anybody who understands this can do his own chatbots now. So you can create chatbots for journal entry if you want. You can create a chatbot for, as I said, requisition. You can create a chatbot for an expense statement. I'm doing a travel and I want to enter an expense statement. So instead of me spending so much of time entering it in the ERP, I can have a chatbot created for this. You can give this chatbots to your employees. They can download them on their smartphone. It will authenticate their identities before it allows them to go in. But through using these chatbots, they can easily reduce their time entry, the entry of transactions time. And more importantly, the look and the feel is very, let me put it this way, very today's, because people are more familiar with applications and things like that. So this is one way of doing it. The other one, as I said, is about asking anything. And the more important part is, as I talked about the AI part. So what I've done is, I've just taken some simple examples of how within the finance community also, you can create simple AI-related applications. So again, as I said, this is all available. This is what is sweeping the finance community. So let's take a simple example like, account receivable. I can program the system now to actually tell me how many customers of mine are over credit who are exceeding the credit limit. What I can do it also is, I can also have a lot of these invoice entry automation that I talked of. I don't know how many of you are aware of OCR technology. How many of you are aware of OCR technology? Okay, so there is a technology available called OCR technology, which is again sweeping the world. What do you do today when you get a supplier invoice? You enter it in the system. So accountants are spending so much of time doing that, right? Now, OCR technology is a technology where you take the scanned copy or the PDF copy of the supplier invoice. The scanned copy, automatically the computer recognizes the fields. This is the invoice number, this is the supplier number, this is the date, this is the amount, and it automatically creates it for you. This is there, it's available. I don't know about other platforms, but this is again an OCR way of creating an invoice is a reality today. So accountants don't need to enter the invoice anymore. The computer is so smart, it can automatically recognize which field and all that. And it is also smart enough to recognize different formats of different suppliers, because not every supplier will give you the same format of the invoice. So again, this is an example of machine learning, where you can automatically create these invoices. Your accountants do not need to actually enter these invoices. So I wanted to, as I said, I was talking of, one supplier, the procure-to-pay process. This is again a simple diagram of a procure-to-pay process, where I've listed down the same thing that I was speaking about. You have maintenance of the suppliers, you have requisitions getting created, you have got purchase orders getting created, receiving good. then somebody is processing the invoice, and then a payment is being done. Very simple cycle, right? Normally what you do, one by one somebody is entering this in the system. Now, if you look at the top part, what I've done is I've given examples within each of these processes where you can do automation automatically. So let's take a simple example like purchase orders. I can have the system algorithms activated to tell me if there is a duplicate PO being entered in the system or not. Or I can also, when I'm doing actually, processing of invoices, I can also put an algorithm in the system to see if there is any discrepancy on any kind of invoice entry that is being done on the system. So these are very small examples of how within one particular process, I can introduce machine learning, I can introduce AI to ensure not only transaction entry is easier, but now I'm introducing the element of audit. So if you notice, in this slide, majority of the points which I've mentioned here is actually audit related. I can put these kind of controls in the system to ensure that whoever is doing entry, whatever is being done in the system is also getting validated behind the system. And what we can do is, if you find, so let's take a simple example, if you find a duplicate invoice number being entered in the system, or if you find within the same supplier, a similar amount appearing more than 3 times or 4 times, I can create some kind of an algorithm in the system to send you an alert. And when I'm talking of an alert can be a simple SMS to you, to the financial controller, or to the auditor, or it could be a simple email to you. So all of these things are now possible only because now we have started moving from, as I said, a very, very mundane based, transaction entry based finance system to an intelligent finance system where you can introduce these kind of controls. Yep. Any questions so far? I mean, do you guys have any questions? Something which is, any questions so far? Is it looking familiar to you? Is it making sense to you guys? Yeah? Okay. So, in the same process that we were talking of, so this same process, as I said, these are all different, events in the same process, right? There are more examples. So again, within each of, so these are one simple points of each of these processes where there are more examples of what all things you can do using machine learning so that you can make your life easier. So, my bottom line here is, A, transaction entry elimination should be your focus. Let the system do it for you. 2, system should enable you with a lot of controls at the fly of a button, and they should automatically get activated onto your inboxes either through an SMS or through an email. This is where the finance community has to move towards. So again, if you look at, I'll take you through a very simple example here. If you look at this, this is a very simple example of a touchless payables. So accounts payable department, which is actually spending a lot of time doing a lot of activities, can actually introduce within the organization a lot of these things which can make their life very easy. So let's take this example also. So when you are entering, as I told you, when you're entering an invoice, you can eliminate entry by just image recognition. So you can bring this image recognition within your organization and automatically create the invoice. That's one. Let's say if you do not choose to do that, and if you want to enter the invoice manually also, you can default the account codes in the invoice automatically on the basis of certain combinations. So let's say you're purchasing a particular item, okay, from a particular supplier for a particular category. You can tell the system whenever this combination is used, I want this account number to be defaulted. So you're again eliminating some kind of data entry for the accountant of the accountant to actually enter into the system. Similarly, as I told you, you can actually do duplicate transaction detection also within the payable cycle. You can also time your payments within the system. So every supplier invoice has a due date. Normally, you would actually, run your payment cycles only on the due date of those invoices. But if you want, you can also change those cycles if you want to. So the computer should be able to, give those kind of parameters to you. So all of these is actually pointing to the fact that slowly, majority of the finance functions will become more and more touchless as time evolves. Yeah, and this is why, I wanted to just take an example of how you can create touchless payables within your organization. And I also have one more example from a specific audit point of view, how you can also use your system to do a lot of supplier analysis. which I'm using the word, supplier intelligence. So let's look at this as well. You can do a lot of analysis and number crunching in the system to do classification of your suppliers. Who is your top supplier? Who is your top 10 supplier? Who are your lowest suppliers? You can again, find out duplication of suppliers, because majority of us suffer from, same supplier number same supplier getting created multiple times within the system. Again, from a risk point of view, what you can also do is you can also create risk scores for your suppliers, so that you can actually identify which supplier of yours is very risky and with whom you should not be doing business, and so on and so forth. All of these things, again, will not be done by you. It will be done by the system. That's the idea, touchless. All of this will be done by the system on the basis of the parameter. And Shobha mentioned in a slide deck, right, data is the new oil. And the reason why data is the new oil is because all of this data is already available in the system for you to actually do all these number crunching. And I'm just going to end with this thing, which is the Internet of Things, because I know it's late as well, and it's a little heavy session as well. So Internet of Things, you've heard of the word Internet of Things. Who can tell me what is Internet of Things for you? What is Internet of Things? Sorry? IG. 4G? Okay, no. No, sorry, no. Anybody? Correct, connected with each other. Yes. So, of course, the chairs on which you're sitting are not intelligent right now, so they can't talk to us. So unfortunately, maybe in next 10 years, this will happen as well. But if you notice today, air conditioners are becoming intelligent. You would have also noticed our TVs are smart TVs now. Parking is, yes. Cars, Tesla and BMWs are now completely smart assets. So we are talking of Internet of Things is about smart assets. Smart assets, so that you can use those assets to basically eliminate a lot of things in your enterprise application. So what is happening today is most of the home appliance companies, like Bosch and all that, are spending more and more time to create smart assets. Similarly, most of the television manufacturing companies are also creating smart assets. Mobile phones are already smart, right? So smart thing, the word Internet of Things has actually come because of the mobile revolution. The moment, the appliance companies started realizing how the Samsungs and the Apples have changed the game, because people want everything smart, touchless, right? What they started thinking was, why shouldn't they also invest in doing smart things? And then with Tesla coming into the game, most of the companies have started realizing that they will be out of business. So I'll give you a simple example. Today, do you need a printer to print? Do you need? There are applications available on Apple today where you can also print. Yeah? So you actually do not. And so scanning machines, okay, let's take a simpler example. Scan. Do you need a scanner? No, you can scan through this also, right? So what is happening is appliance companies are going to go out of business if smartphones start giving you that kind of technology, right? If my mobile, because I know this is strange, actually, one of my TV remote broke, and I was helpless because I was not getting the remote, and my son actually downloaded one application and told me, Papa, use this. And through the smartphone, I was actually able to use it. So I was like wondering that the smart assets have actually started taking over the world. Now the point is, why Internet of Things came into being was, majority of the asset-intensive companies, when I'm talking of asset-intensive companies, it means transportation companies, manufacturing companies who are using manufacturing plants, equipment solid companies, which are doing a lot of maintenance. Specifically, again, telecom companies, all of these asset-intensive companies today want to interact with assets which are smart. For the simple reason, they want these smart assets to give them data so that they can predict when they can come for failure. So I'll take a simpler example for you, an air condition. So let's say I'm in the business of air conditioning, and I'm leasing out air conditions to everyone. Okay, and I also have a maintenance contract with all my customers that whenever you want to basically, whenever there is a breakdown, I will come and repair it for you. Yeah? Now, if my air conditioner is very smart and it can give me data, then it can tell me that whenever let's say it is going below a temperature of, let's say 10, or if it is exceeding a temperature of 40, this is about to break down. Okay, if my air condition can give me that kind of data. So if it can give me that kind of a data, then I would know that this is up for repair. Correct? Now, in the enterprise world, imagine a company which is only into the business of maintaining, or which has got so many assets like transportation companies. They're having so many of their trucks on the highways. If their tires are smart, and I can confirm that smart tires are the in thing in Europe and America today, if they can through sensors send information to the control tower that this truck is going to break down, this tire is going to break down, they would not have a situation of stock out. They would not have a stock out situation. It would not get broken down in an isolated place where there is no maintenance facility available, which means more cost if this happens. Then they would be able to reduce their costs. This is where the Internet of Things has come into being. So simply put, Internet of Things is basically taking data from smart assets, analyzing that data, and giving that predictive analysis to those companies that these assets are now coming up for maintenance. Okay, and the bigger advantage also is, all of you guys know that you need to create fixed assets in accounts, right? So if you're buying a fixed asset chair, you have to create, right? If tomorrow your assets are smart, and if it is able to give you data, you can create the asset automatically in the system. So again, data entry can be eliminated. So I'll give you a simple example. If cars have become smarter, and every company is buying cars, right, for their employees or whatever. So if let's say tomorrow I buy 5 BMWs, today BMW can give me data, by the way. So I can create automatically an asset, A, and I can create an asset master. So it can give me things like chassis number, right? It can give me a model number. It can give you a lot of parameters, right? And BMW today is also able to give you information like, when its oil temperature is going down, this, that. So imagine if you are a leasing company, a car rental leasing company, you can also predict now whether this is coming up for maintenance or not. So you do not need to depend on anybody, right? This is Internet of Things, guys. This is Internet of Things, taking and analyzing the information. So what I've done is, I have just taken one example, and this is my last part of the slide. After that, we are all free to go home. There is this lady, Salma, who again is the CFO of an asset-intensive company, okay? She's having a lot of breakdown incidents happening in her organization. She's spending a lot of money on maintenance of assets. She needs a way out of this. So what is the way out for her? IoT. If she has invested in smart assets, if she invests in smart assets, or today, one more thing, I don't know how many of you are aware, sensors are available, by the way. So even if your asset is not smart, you can use these sensors. Sensors, if you can attach it to the machines, they can provide you with a lot of data, manufacturing data and things like that. So what she wants is basically a way out. So what I've done is, I have a practical example of IoT here. Before I switch on this one, I just want to explain to you what it is doing so that it is clear to you. So by mistake, let's say we brought our kids to our office, okay, and kids being kids, have actually gone and opened up an HVAC unit. So HVAC unit is just a very small thing, but what happens, if you are using a smart asset, if somebody fidgets with the asset, it will automatically report an incident. So the idea is how that asset data is automatically coming to the ERP and data entry is getting eliminated. So what happens is when the kid opens the HVAC, automatically the incident gets reported in the ERP because it's smart asset. So somebody in the office now is knowing something is wrong with that asset. So in common language, anybody who's coming from an asset maintenance company will tell you a work order gets created. A work order gets created because now you need to go and maintain the asset. So this child has gone and opened up the HVAC, system automatically created a work order. So seamlessly, touchlessly, I can come to know within my organization that something is wrong with that asset. The work order got created, the engineer now goes there and starts to basically look at the asset. The moment he closes the asset, because somebody opened it by mistake, automatically the work order gets closed. So the idea of showing this example to you is that the world is now moving to a stage where you as maintenance, or anybody, maintenance engineers or people who are maintaining the assets, do not need to do anything on the system. System will automatically read the data and automatically do these things for you. So this is my last thing, and then after that we are free to go home, yeah? Alright? So I will just play this out. Okay, so see, this is the HVAC unit there on the left hand side. There is a child who comes in and he has opened it. So this is wrong. So what has happened now is, because the asset is opened, automatically in the system, if you notice on the right hand side, a work order is going to get, so the sensor is automatically detected. Did you see a work order is getting created there automatically? So somebody sitting in the central office, the head office, now knows that something is wrong with this asset. And this is his dashboard of maintenance, where he can track all the incidents that are happening within the assets, for all these assets. So see, a work order got created automatically here. So what will he do? Because it's central maintenance, he opens the work order, he has to assign it to an engineer who needs to go and see the asset, right? So he opens the asset, he's assigning it now, escalating the work order to a person who will go and look at it. So bottom line, as I said, is all of this is touchless. And this is again something that is going to sweep in the next 10 years of time, because majority of the home appliance companies are actually trying to ensure that the assets that they're manufacturing are actually all in all smart assets, including, you know, your mixer grinders, your refrigerators. Bosch is actually coming up with a lot of these smart assets. If you want, just go and look at their website. They have one of the best advertisements available today in the market, which shows what kind of smart assets they are releasing. You must go and Google it. It's one of the best advertisements going around right now on the internet. It will give you an idea of where your home appliances are going. All right, so this is an example of this. This is my last slide. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. Yeah. I know it's late in the evening. I know it's heavy. Yeah. My apologies. Yeah. Please go ahead, please. Yeah.
You said about artificial intelligence being used by the company in various modules. From what I have read or gathered from meetings like this, is that blockchain technology is managed by a third party, right? And if my suppliers are suppliers and as well as to whom I supply, and the bank forms part of that blockchain, then what is the necessity for having this artificial intelligence in the office? You can straight away use the blockchain.
So two things. So artificial intelligence is different from blockchain. Okay. So these are two different things. Okay. So artificial intelligence is to basically help your organization to either, as I said, reduce your data work, or to basically, orchestration of certain processes automatically. Blockchain is different. Blockchain is basically a connection of interested parties, okay, for a particular purpose. So I'll give you a simple example of real example of blockchain available today. So there are blockchains available today of companies who have joined a blockchain where university degree certificates are getting verified. So what happens is when I'm trying to recruit an employee, and today I might when I'm recruiting an employee, I want certificates of him to be checked, verified, right? Today you do not have means of verifying. He might give you something which is bogus and you would not even know, right? But if you are actually in a blockchain of universities, where you can automatically through an alert tell them you have this particular person's certificate, is it valid or not, or is it just legally verified or not, they can actually in this come back and tell you yes it is or it is not if it is in the blockchain. So blockchain is always specific to a particular transaction. Like banks in the UAE today are creating a blockchain only for PDCs. Okay, so it is going to go live, I think by the end of this year, one of the banks is going to go live. So what are they doing? They are saying that what are we doing, all expats who are there in UAE today, or anyone in Oman or in the Middle East, we are giving 4 checks, 5 PDC checks for our rental contracts, right? So what are they doing? They are saying we will create a blockchain of all our customers, so their customers only. We'll create a blockchain of our customers who are giving our checks to the real estate agents, okay, which are PDCs. So only those customers and their real estate companies join our blockchain network. Instead of we entering these checks in the system, they are telling me, so I'm giving let's say 4 checks of Emirates NBD, use your login, use your user ID password, enter your PDCs there. When those checks are coming up for maturity, we will only validate it and do the accounting and the clearing of the check. So what have they done? 2 things they've done. One is they've eliminated data entry. Correct? 1. 2, they have brought in the network the lessor also and the lessee also. The lessor is the one who has actually leased it to me, my real estate company or the agent, and me also who's actually giving the checks, right? So they brought both of them on the platform. They are actually also doing the clearing on the system, so it is again automated. So they are actually introducing a touchless transaction here. So these are interested parties. But now look at the real estate company. The real estate company needs to still account for this in their books. That will happen in their books, which is outside the blockchain. So blockchain has got nothing to do with your enterprise application. It is outside of it. So this is only for facilitating a group of interested parties to basically ensure that duplication of data entry doesn't happen. So this is different. I hope I've been able to explain to you the difference between both of them. Yeah, good.
Will this blockchain take over the accounting operation of the company?
No, it will never. It will never. It's only for specific transactions. It will never. So what it can do is, so you can launch your own blockchain if you want. Okay. So blockchain will always be provided by some provider. So if you are a group, a big group, and you have got, let's say, 40 companies in the group, and all of them, and intercompany transactions are flowing left, right, and center, because group companies, right? So what you can do is you can create your own blockchain, bring all your 40 companies on the blockchain. One is sending the intercompany transaction, the other is receiving the transaction. He will approve it, and when he approves it, then only the accounting happens in both the places. Today, everything is, manual, right? So blockchain, this is the best example of blockchain. Blockchain is getting interested parties into a network and ensuring that duplication of data entry doesn't happen. Yeah, but it will not replace your accounting at all, never.
Some of these changes which we talked about, of course, some are internal to an organization, but some would depend on your B2B, your other circles, other companies, suppliers and vendors. They also being part of, they also using same or similar technologies, right?
Not necessarily.
Or the governments.
Not necessary. So for blockchain, yes, you will need people to be interested parties need to have a sophisticated system. But otherwise, if you are, let's say you're using a sophisticated system and your supplier is not, you do not need to worry about it. Because now in what is happening is, ERP companies are providing something like supplier portal. Okay, so what I can do is, for all my suppliers, I can give them a login ID, a password. They can log into my supplier portal and they can download their own statements. They can also upload their invoices there. I can do my payments through them, through that. I can post the checks through that. So all of that is in your accounting system. It's got nothing to do with them, right? So they can be manual also. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter.
So the coexisting can work.
Yeah, it can work.
The organization enterprise can be on the latest platform, but your ecosystem outside of your organization ecosystem can be on a little legacy platform, but that coexistence will work.
Sure.
See, basically, I'm the audit people.
Yeah.
We have big audit firms, Big Four, EY, all those people. Okay. They have their own, what do you call, artificial intelligence platform.
Yes.
They are building.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So shortly, they might be able to verify the 100% population of a transaction, list of area,
Correct.
within a short span of time.
Correct.
And at a lesser rate than a smaller audit firm.
Yeah.
How could a small player in the market cope up with this challenge?
So, niche companies, big companies like Oracle, SAP are coming up with their own artificial intelligence and RPAs. I will use the word RPA more frequently now because RPA is an AI tool. Okay, so all of these companies are coming up with that, but there are many small companies also who are actually having RPAs. They are releasing their RPAs as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot deploy a third-party RPA on your application platform. So I could be using a very small ERP, okay, but I can still get a RPA or an AI from another small vendor also. It will work on it for sure. So if I run that program, it will automatically, let's say, do my bank reconciliation. Or if I run the program, it will automatically do my bank receipts. That is what is RPA. So there is absolutely no limitation because, as I said, every size finds its suitor. So in the market today, because the RPA revolution is so sweeping, so many companies have released their RPAs. I mean, I keep on getting so many emails of so many people asking me to come and, look at their demonstrations and all that. So you will find many choices in the market. It should not be a problem. Yeah. Any other questions, please? Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. You guys have been very, very patient. And thanks for tolerating us this evening, because you guys have come from work, I presume, right? All of you, right? So you must be very, very tired. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Can we have a big round of applause, please? Okay. As a customary, we have the two speakers, but the mementos, one, and you both work for Oracle. So possibly you can share on the way out. May I invite CS Anil, who are just pleased to come forward and give the mementos to the speaker. Please, both of you, please, if you can come. So the session, I'm afraid, coming to an end, and Prabhu has been making a lot of notes actually. So what we like to know, maybe a little summary. It's been a very heavy session. I guess people have acknowledged it. So please give a quick summary. RBA, BOT, and I suppose where the future is taking us. So Prabhu, please.
Thank you very much, Shahnawaz Bhai. On behalf of Muscat chapter, thank you very much, Shobha Singh ji, for the very informative and insights of future of work and the future enterprises. Maybe for chartered accountants, maybe it is a shocker also. Maybe as Lopendra, Rawat ji said, it's a disruption again. Maybe it is a disruption in a positive note. Okay, please give her a big round of applause. We also thank you, Lopendra Rawat ji, to taking us and preparing us for the next journey for the next DCFO, okay, and taking us complete insight. Maybe I am just recollecting our accounting process, which you have taken through completely, entire ERP. Thank you very much. Please give me a big round of applause. We also thank College of Banking and Financial Studies, being our local sponsors, for all their support and for these activities. Thank you one and all.